Welcome back to another Pointless Automotive podcast. Frank
Yes,
is getting
sir.
his secondary redundancy recording device ready because we are technical mishaps all the time. That's
Oh
what we
yeah,
are.
that we function in the world of I know it Our Lady of Perpetual recording errors.
We're a
Um
legitimate outfit here, I assure you.
but yeah, as far as the we've been trying to reach you about your vehicle's extended warranty. You know, I like to like push the thing to like because it's just like press one to talk to an agent or whatever. And so
Right?
I like to press the one to talk to the agent, which is probably a bad idea. That probably like ups me in their rankings of like people to call because I'm actually responding.
Yeah, they're
Um,
circling your photo on their pin wall behind them.
exactly. Yeah. So I like to talk to them and then just like, okay, yeah, I've got my 1886, Benz patent wagon or whatever, and try and like claim that I have some like obscenely old vehicle of some kind that like I'm expecting to have a warranty on, and then they end up figuring it out and just hanging up on me, which is sad. I wish they played the game a little more. But
Yeah, I did that with the Galant VR4, and they were like, "What is it again?" I'm like, "It's a Mitsubishi. It's a Galant VR4."
they're like, Mitsubishi, what are those?
I'm like, it's a
Um,
92 vintage. You don't understand how nice this vehicle
yeah,
is. And they're like,
exactly.
what's the value? I know they're typing it in and like it comes back on like KBB as like an $800 vehicle. They're like, we can't
Yeah,
even
I
scam this
honestly I don't
guy.
even think they do that much research. They just like figure out if like how they can scam you. Like I don't think they're searching KBB values. I think they're simply just
Yeah,
yeah,
they
they're
were
just
super nice, man. All they asked is for my social and a couple other things. So
yeah, pin number,
yep,
like a retina scan real quick.
DNA
Yeah,
sample.
exactly. Yeah, sperm sample. The um well, for those that are
Is that a
watching, and
Predator 2 joke? My doctor asked for a urine, stool, and semen sample, and I said, I'm in a rush, doc. Can I just leave you my underwear? I think it was a
yeah,
Bill
hey, there you
Paxton
go.
joke from Predator 2.
Yes, Bill Paxton, may he rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Yes, that. Did you see they're making a Predator prequel? It's gonna be called Prey.
Okay.
Yeah, like with an E, not with an A.
There's been so many
Um,
Predators that have just not delivered. It's at this point.
yeah, yeah. When I was a kid, I thought Predator 2 was the better Predator, but in retrospect, it's
What?
Predator 1.
How?
Yeah,
How?
now that I'm an adult and I've got I've got retrospection available, like Predator 1 is the superior Predator.
Yeah.
No slight to Danny Glover.
Danny Glover was great, and then they had that like film canon where they showed like the xenomorph alien skull in the ship. That was cool for all
Yeah,
us
I thought
nerds.
that
We're
was
like,
dope.
F yeah, finally
Yeah, that was cool.
crossover. That was it
Yeah,
though. The rest of that movie
that's
was
so
horrible
that's
acting.
so the seed. Yeah, I when I was I always thought like the crazy like butcher room like walk-in freezer scene with like the crazy like blade that like cut the guy in half and there's just like an outrageous amount of blood gets splashed around. When I
Yes.
was whatever I was 9 or whatever, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Anyways,
Tangent
um
Land.
yeah, back to talking about cars and such. For those that are checking out the video feed, probably noticing we're back to the world of doing another Zoom
Yep.
episode. So the live and in the flesh, which is probably how we operate best. I know I do. Um, we'll probably resume hopefully next episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, various illnesses aside. So that's new. Otherwise,
Let's
Sir
dive.
Chadwick, what did you want to discuss today when we in our various automotive ramblings?
Let's dive right in. So I think it'd be fun to explore secret treasures. And these can be things you find whenever you buy a used car. It's always fun that
Hmm.
first time you clean it out or you reach under the seat because you drop something, activating its
Yes.
power.
Hmm.
And you're
Oh, we're
fishing around down there for what you dropped, and you find something a little squishier, a little hairier, or a little stickier than you
yep.
expected. That's
We
fun.
put it in the air. Yeah.
Or when you're
Or
doing
like the
repairs,
rock hard French fry that's like been there for like 17 years.
yeah, the little bonus
Hmm.
fry.
Yep.
Uh, those are fun. And then repairs. So when you're working on these shady vehicles, you find the DIY projects, those kind of fun things to
Yep.
discover. You're like, this explains a lot now. While you try to piece together this crazy car's history. So we're going to call this one Secret Treasures. And I'm going to kick it over to you first, Frank. What's a secret
Ooh,
treasure you discovered in a car you bought or when you're in there working on something?
sure. Yeah. So let's see. So there's definitely There's definitely been some far crazier than others. I'll probably start with the milder variety because when I had one of my various collections of Celica Supras,
Mm.
the one I owned the longest, which was my daily driver for quite some time, it was a red with a gray leather interior, 85 Celica Supra with an automatic. I bought it locally. So I had what preceded it was I had an 89 4Runner V6 automatic that got 0 miles a gallon.
Right.
I mean, it genuinely got like 9 to 10 in the city. I mean, it was brutal. And I was just like, I just can't keep it up. So I ended up selling it. And then I bought this Celica Supra. And I bought it from a gal who just lived in Concord. So not all that far from where I live. And she had it decked out in Betty Boop everything.
Oh boy.
So like everything. I mean, it was Betty Boop-ified. And so even to a further extent than I actually initially thought it was when I bought it. So I knew that she had a Betty Boop license plate frame. She had Betty Boop seat covers on the front and a Betty Boop themed like steering wheel cover that goes around the steering wheel. And I kind of thought that was it. Okay, yeah, that's easy enough, right? Just spend 5 minutes. I don't want to say undress Betty Boop. That's a little not where I'm going, but undress the Betty Boopness from the Supra. So I started digging in further, and I found there were like Betty Boop Easter eggs in the car almost.
Ooh.
Like there were like you open up the console lid, and on the inside of the lid there were Betty Boop stickers stuck
Sweet.
there.
Yeah.
It had a dash mat over it on the dash. Thankfully, under the dash mat, I peeked. The dash itself was fine, but when I removed the dash mat, there were Betty Boop stickers on the dash under the dash mat. There was some stuff in the trunk, like nothing crazy. I found in the trunk a Betty Boop kite, like still all like not assembled, like the one where you spend like 4 minutes and you assemble it real quick, and it's got the little hard plastic horseshoe with like the string wrapped around it.
Yeah.
And this was, I mean, I was like 23 at the time, and so me and my buddies, we went and oh no, actually, you know what? I was younger. I was 20. We went and we flew said kite. We assembled it and flew it in my friend's court, just being dumbass, drinking beers, flying a Betty Boop kite. And yeah, like and then I do remember I found a token in it for the local. There's like a local dive bar called I think it's called My Office. It's My Office or The Office. And so you go to the bar like, oh, I'm going to my office. And you're not lying to your significant other or whomever. You're just going to the bar because it's called My Office. And I found a drink token that I think I lost it years ago, but I kept it just in case I stumbled in there. The bar is still around, actually. So yeah, that was the Betty Boop machine. I had to Betty Boopify it, and I kept finding like, I'd vacuum under the carpet and I'd find like a Betty Boop, poker chip or like weird stuff like that. I was just perpetually finding Betty Boop things and glitter and stuff like that throughout the time I owned the car.
That's awesome, man. I always think those Betty Boop people would hook up with the Yosemite Sam people, with the back off mud flaps. You remember those back in the day?
Yeah. But then also at the same time, like despised the people, like all the Taz stuff, the Tasmanian Devil.
Oh, you couldn't trust those guys. Mm-hmm. Animals.
Yeah. Well, the Taz guys would hook up with the chicks with always the Tweety Bird, Tweety Bird stuff.
And the Tinkerbell girls.
They were compatible, I think. And then the Betty Boop and the Yosemite Sam were good bedfellows. I think they shacked up and made weird children. I don't know.
I think they did. Yeah.
They did. How about you? You find any, like a loaded revolver covered in human blood, or what have you found?
A couple times. Happens. But the big thing is, like, I like digging into a car that has issues. So I bought a one owner Escort GT a little while back, which was pretty cool. Super hard car to find. It had clearly been like loved for 30 something years by the original owner, and then like inherited by the son, who did a bunch of like basically duct tape and honestly zip tie fixes. So I bought the car. The headliner was like every screw was out of the headliner, holding up like the the oh shit
Hmm.
bars and like everything else, and the interior lights are all done. So I knew something weird was going on, and that
Yeah,
was just the gateway to what was wrong with this car. But anyway,
sure.
the first fill up was this is the same car that I filled it up the first time, and the back seat flooded with gasoline. I
Not
was
a
like,
bug
I
at the
know what kind
future.
of adventure I'm going on. But
Yeah, the self-immolation
yeah, so the thing is,
situation.
the car never got like to operating temp, and on some cars they just
Yeah,
don't read. Like sometimes the sensor is a little off or
yeah.
whatever. Pretty standard stuff
Hmm.
on old cheap stuff. But anyway, I was like, why is this car always cold? So I
Can
start
I
doing the
guess?
cooling system because I'm going to do timing belt anyway. So I'm
Yeah.
taking it apart. I open the thermostat housing, no
What
thermostat.
thermostat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the old pull the thermostat, put a gasket in, seal it.
Evo. Yeah. Well, you're lucky they put a gasket in and they didn't just like, just like some RTV and go.
Yeah, well, probably would have worked better. But yeah, no
Yeah.
thermostat, which is an indicator. Oh, I bet this thing gets hot. So put a thermostat in. It got hot, right?
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
then also I flushed the coolant out. We'll just drain the coolant, replaced it. And it
Hmm.
got really hot. And I'm like, what's going on? And the water pump started leaking. I'm like, I know this trick.
Block
So,
seal.
yeah, all kinds of it. So when I took the actual water pump out, it was just full
Yeah.
of like
Oh
what looked like
no.
mercury. Probably was mercury from that time.
Yeah. Put mercury on your list.
But yeah, same tricks. Like I love that stuff when you start digging in a car. You're like, oh, the old thermostat trick, and then you go down that rabbit hole of all the other fun stuff.
Yeah.
Car overheats, but I'm gonna hide it as best I can. So that's what I got for that little secret treasure. So when you start
Yeah.
digging
That's
in,
that's fun. That's like, like my car donation client. There's a fly in my face. My car donation client, they'll get stuff. I'll help them troubleshoot stuff occasionally, and they'll get stuff that comes through where it's just like, hmm, like the notes on it will be sparse, like won't pass smog, and you're like, okay,
mm,
and then you get it, and you're like, you start like poking around it, and you're like, start tracing things, and you're like, oh, somebody's fought this battle before. It didn't just like, oops, it failed smog, so I donated. It's like I had some fly by night mechanic or my cousin's uncle's best friend spend umpteen hours on this thing, and they threw in the towel, and then I don't donated it, right, where you're like
right,
you're finding stuff like space off the O2 sensor to try and mask for a bad cat, or you find weird wiring stuff, and you find, hey, why did someone like bypass this fusible link and there's like a 20 amp fuse where there should be a 10 amp fuse, and like you're finding like all this like, it's not just the windows don't work, it's literally like somebody chopped all kinds of stuff out of it. So that stuff's always cracks me up.
oh yeah,
um Also with car donation client was they had in a very nice Honda CRV. I
mm,
don't remember if it was the one I sold on Cars and Bids. It might have been a different one, but it was a first gen Honda CRV, and so it came in. We were poking around it with their mechanic that they have there, and hey, look, clean car, well kept, and got all the mats, floor mats, right?
mm,
And so we're like opened up the back, right, in the cargo area, big cargo area CRV, and it's got the big single carpeted mat over the rear floor.
wow,
And so Kanik was looking around it because he likes to poke through the cars for exactly this reason why we're having this conversation, because you
right,
never know. Like there's always something weird, a lot of normal stuff. Sometimes there's just fluids that gets added to the stash of like emergency fluids for topping off cars and stuff.
right.
But it'll be so there's this mat. I say, "Hey, did you look under the mat yet?" No. I was like, "Oh, there's probably a knife under there or something like that." Peel up the mat, and dead ass serious. It was like the entire contents of like the Mall Ninja catalog, like all the Mall Ninja stuff, or the stuff that like you buy when you're like 12 at the local flea market. There were ninja, and it was all laid out perfectly, like
What?
weird swords and like ninja stars and like literally like cheap made in China throwing knives,
Holy
like
shit.
literally multiple like thin swords,
Mm,
and they were all like really thin, so they all like were under this mat. You wouldn't tell, and it was like, but they were all like staged perfectly. They weren't just like thrown in there. They were all like set up to be like displayed, and then this mat gently rested over it. And like, whoa, what the hell? Like I was completely kidding about there being a knife, and there's like throwing knives and swords and ninja stars, and like,
oh
whoa, what the like, and sure enough, and I think they reached out to the guy who donated it. We're like, did you forget your like collection of Mall Ninja shit? Um, and to I think he was like, oh my god, I forgot about that. Like, thank you. I'll come by and get them. And he never did. And so I think they're still like at their office. There's like in a closet with like swords and ninja stars just in case you need it.
Dude, imagine that traffic stop. You got any weapons in the car, sir? And you're like, maybe.
Hmm, does a ninja star from the local flea market count
Yeah.
as a weapon? You know, nobody would
Officer,
actually use that.
yeah, officer, I'd like to admit at this time I'm a badass ninja, and you probably shouldn't stop me.
You have any weapons in the field? Well, actually, uh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just wildness, wildness.
That's cool.
Um, yeah, sort of. I mean,
I mean, for
that's just
things
not
you
my
can
type of hype,
find,
but
things you can find in the back of a CRX, that's probably as exciting as it's gonna get.
yeah, for sure. How about you, homie? You got anything? What else do you find? I know you found some bad juju in that, or a lack of parts, I should say, in that car. What else?
Yeah. So you ever get in a car and it just smells off? Like it's
Oh yeah,
every
hmm,
car, like seriously, every
I
car, like
own one
old,
of those actually.
yeah, old BMWs have a smell.
Hmm.
Volkswagens have the crayon smell, which is
Crayons. Yep.
very obvious. The Galant has its own smell. So like a lot of cars have their own smell. So
Yeah.
I've owned a few WRXs, and I bought this 2002. It was a one of the wagons,
Hmm.
manual, really nice. Had like the leather option where they could option it out at the dealership. So
Cool.
it
Yeah.
was a super cool car, but it smelled like just kind of like bad fruit.
Hmm.
Kind of, when fruit goes bad, it has that really bad.
Yeah. That's kind of like bad citrus.
Yeah, so that kind of
Yeah.
sweet, like, and you couldn't get rid of it. Like I cleaned and everything, and those cars had weird seats. The seats are kind of there's like not much clearance underneath them. So
Right.
I'm like, I'm just gonna check, and I found two giant oranges, like huge oranges under each seat. So
Somebody
there
was
was like
making their own Pruno.
yeah, and they were all shriveled up, but the juice had leaked into the carpet and spread around because you could feel
Yeah.
it. And I
Yeah.
don't know how it had to be intentional, right? Like you don't have a bag of oranges, and like I couldn't get them out even when they were shriveled. So someone jammed them at one point
I
under
don't
there.
know. Maybe like the lady that sells, at least here in California, there's like the grand tradition of the lady that sells oranges on the corner,
Right.
in various locales. Maybe it was an ex um naranjaseria mobile, and they were just selling
Maybe
oranges on the corner and it's hauling around. It was a wagon, you said, so it
it,
could have been.
it was, but I think they were doing DIY like their own scent treatment or aromatherapy. But
Could have been.
it
Could have
was
been.
awful. And like, so I had to remove the seats and like steam clean it to get it out because it'd been like in
Yeah,
there for months. But
that's
just the fact
fantastic.
that the oranges were bigger than the gap to get under the seat. So someone did
It
something
defies
magic.
logic and like how it
Yeah.
got in there.
But it was two under each one. So it was a little weird too. Like I get it if a piece of fruit, like errant fruit, rolls around and hides under a seat, but you don't get
Errant
two
fruit, good
giant
band name.
oversized oranges jammed in there.
Yeah, that's a little strange.
A
The
little weird.
juices,
Disgusting
the
though. It
juices
was
worth
like
the
it was
squeeze.
it was all moldy, because the mold like in the juice and But
So you're
yeah, it was
saying that one didn't have the optional subwoofer under the seat? Because I had a 2002 WRX, and it had the optional. It's like really, it's like big and almost like a flat bazooka tube that you can get optionally installed under the passenger seat.
was that an amp or a sub?
It was both.
What?
It was a subwoofer with an integral. I mean, it was probably like an 8-inch sub. I mean, it was this big, but it was in a plastic housing and it was flat and it was under the passenger seat.
How weird. Yeah, mine
Oh
had
yeah.
mine came with the factory sub in the trunk with the little box
Okay.
because
Yeah.
they had that, and it came with the factory boost gauge, which is super rare to find still.
Yeah. I like how like obvious tacked on those were. It was just like coming on like a 45-degree angle, like off of just like right off of the what do you call it? The
Steering column area.
yeah,
Yeah,
steering column. Yeah, the clamshell on the top of the steering column, just like right next to that stupid worst feature ever on a car, that parking light switch on the top
that
that
you
you would
can't
bump and
find.
accidentally, and it would just leave your lights on and kill your car, and that served
Yep.
no other purpose but to drain your battery.
The best
I
was
never
that
understood
boost.
that.
Yeah, that boost gauge had like the home phone cord going down the side.
Yeah, yeah, the little curly Q pigtail situation.
So cool. But anyway, that
Ah,
was my
yes.
citrus edition WRX.
So it's funny. So that now that you told that story, that reminded me of one with a friend of mine, um, who I'm going to call an audible here because I'm going to add this one of found discoveries in a vehicle. Was so he ended up, my friend Travis, hilarious dude, not a car guy. He got a for his first car, he had like some uncle of his had an 82 Subaru GL sedan.
Okay.
So that was the early Subaru before, like when you can still get a front wheel drive Subaru.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was a GL sedan, beige with a beige interior, and it was just on this. It was just on the side of his uncle's house for like 4 years, to the point where like the uncle tossed a new car battery in it, put some fuel in it, fired it up. It was completely disgusting and dirty, but was like, hey, it runs. You can have it. He was like, sweet, free car. So that was his first car. So when he got it, and it was like, I think it was like the summer before junior year of high school or senior year of high school. Let's just say senior year. And so he got it, and it was the beginning of summer, like right after. So beginning of summer, got the car. He got it, and he washed it, and he got it detailed and everything, and he put new fluids in it. And the interior smelled awful, like truly awful, to the point where um you would literally be in it gagging. Like you would have to have all the hand crank down all four windows and be driving around, and it was still gag worthy. Like he had like 8 of the Christmas tree air
Yeah.
fresheners that he loved so much, the black ice special ones.
Oh
And then
yeah.
like he had like one of those like the big round ones with like the adjustable top, and he had that like glued onto the dashboard and everything. And so but it was just like adding a layer of like fruitiness and like perfuminess on top of just like boiling garbage in the sun is what the interior is. I mean, it was disastrously bad. And we rode around in the summer in it, and everything, and he did everything. Like his dad took the seats out, and they like cleaned under the seats because there was a bunch of like old French fries and garbage under there, and they
Yeah.
vacuumed everything, and they went over it like multiple times. Still
Huh.
just wouldn't go away. So then gets it, keeps driving it all summer. We're riding in this car, it's all good. Winter comes along, right? So this car was bare bones. It didn't have power anything, didn't have power steering, it had power brakes. That was it. Didn't have air conditioning.
Hmm.
So winter rolls along. He starts driving it to school. Wake up one morning and frosty windshield, right? So he puts on the defroster, puts it on full bore, and right when he hits it on full blast, he gets hit with a shower of like hundreds of flies, just like hitting him in the face, just like bouncing off his face, and he's freaking out because it's like just like literally just a fountain of flies just pouring out of the yeah, just and so he gets out of the car like, what the fuck, freaking out. So then what happens is he ends up, um I don't know, he drove it to school, he found his way to school. That following weekend, him and his dad pull up everything out from dig into the dashboard and start pulling all the HVAC apart, and find a, a dead rat covered in maggots, just, and then like a whole nest of like other baby rats,
Oh
just
god.
all like dead and like also covered in like live maggot situation. And so we were just like, all of it. He told us his story, and they did all that, and they cleaned it up. That was the source of the smell, and we were all just like, we were sucking in death all
Yeah, that's
summer,
what you
just
guys are
riding around in that
breathing.
car, inhaling literally the scent and the smell of death and maggots, and just like sucking it in because we're 16 and we don't 15 and we don't know any better. And it was just,
Yummy.
they told us that story, and we're all just like dry heaving thinking about like that we just rode around in that car was just certain death. And like he had like flies in his mouth because he just like wasn't expecting it. He
Yeah,
just
fly confetti.
yeah, it just covered in flies, like flies, dead flies, rat fur, just everything just come blasting out of the
That's
defroster.
disgusting.
So yeah, that was a good one. That was
Oh,
your orange story reminded me of that one.
yeah, that takes the cake on that one. That's anytime there's a rotten animal involved.
Yeah, literally decomposition in your face.
Yeah,
Good name for an album too.
I love. Yeah,
Decomp in
seriously.
your face.
Our sophomore album.
Exactly. It wasn't as good as the first, but bakers can't be choosers. Do you have any? Do you have a follow up?
Yeah, I got a real quick parting shot one. This has to do with my Miata. I titled this one Surround Sound DIY.
Ooh,
So when I
okay.
bought the car,
Yeah.
when you look at like someone's homemade audio job, literally homemade,
Yes.
this guy had
Yeah.
home theater surround speakers simply
Mhm.
balancing behind the driver's seat. up on
Oh.
the kind of shelf there. If you know a Miata, there's no back seat, obviously. So there's just these home theater speakers unsecured in the car.
Don't break too hard.
Yeah, well, it would hit the passenger's shoulder every time, which is kind of
I'll
funny
do again.
in retrospect. But
Yeah.
anyway, I see that. So that's clear to undo. So I start taking all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff off. First step when I get a car like that, before I even start doing maintenance, is remove all
Mm-hmm.
the aftermarket junk so I can have a clean mind when I'm going through the car.
Yeah.
The big issue was like I go to pull the seats off and they're like heavier. And I'm like, what's going on? And I put my hand up to hold the headrest and I felt a lump in the headrest and there's a little slit.
Growth.
So Miatas came with the optional later. I don't know if the early ones had it, but they had the headrest
Mm-hmm.
speakers.
Yes.
So this guy cut open the headrest and put car door speakers up in there. Didn't secure them, just floating.
Like a 6x9?
Yeah, just in the heat there, bumping on your head. Like you could feel it when you put your head back.
That's funny. That's fantastic.
I've never seen that in my existence. I've seen a lot of car speaker hack jobs, but I've never seen someone just jam a car speaker into a car seat headrest.
Did they have to like section out all the foam and just like make a home for it?
I think they carved it out, but the slit was pretty small and down low. So they worked it up. And then like I pulled the wires. They had just cut the wires at one point.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was really cool. I'm like, that is, if you get in an accident and you have a door speaker go through your head.
Right. Yeah. Imagine too, you're using it at the time of the accident. So like you get brained by like, I don't know, some horrible song that you're just like is your guilty pleasure at the time. Just like,
yeah,
I don't even know. Probably a song with boom in it because you're getting rear-ended.
Yeah.
You know, boom, 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 boom. I want you in my room. As you're like bleeding out on the side of the road because you just got like rabbit punched by a 6-inch speaker.
Can you imagine how loud that would be? Because I know they put small speakers, like tweeter, like size speakers in the headrest ones. Yeah. That thing must have
like
been
little 1.25 jobs.
Yeah, that thing just bumping behind your head when you're driving. Yeah. So good. Boy. Well, that was my home theater in a Miata experience.
Well, I'll give a quick couple honorable mentions. So, as we may have mentioned in the past, a lifetime ago, I worked as an insurance adjuster for a major automotive insurance provider, and you know, a lot of times you would do inspections on cars, and people would maybe not empty out all of their personal belongings. Sometimes it was not a fault of theirs, right? Like I would look at something at Copart and it would be a total loss and it was dragged from the scene of an accident to Copart. And sometimes you would see why they got in that accident, depending on the contents of the vehicle. Other times they would have every opportunity to clean it out, but they just chose not to for some sick, twisted reason. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they'd be standing next to you while you're like looking at their car and you're like, oh, let me get a picture of your odometer. And there's just like a bag of dildos on the passenger seat and just like weird, like you would see. I mean, I did that for 12 plus years. So I kind of saw a bunch of stuff. Some honorable mentions that I saw was there was a lifted like quad cab, you know, Dodge Ram 2500 at Copart that I looked at, and it was hammered. Like it like went off, bailed off the road and rolled over a couple of times. And there was a garbage bag full of pot cannabis. And this was like pre-legalization days, so it was more of a thing then, but like a trash bag. And then a massive bong that was just like a 4.5-foot bong in the back seat. And the entire interior was completely littered with whippets, like the containers, some used, some not. But there was probably 40 boxes of whippets that were in there. And when this truck went tumbling and going crazy, like they just scattered. So the entire interior was just like strewn with whippets. And it's like, okay, I think I know why this car kind of lost control and rolled over time and time again.
Control.
Yeah, well, I think the owner of the vehicle lost control of their inhibitions
years ago.
Exactly. Yeah, they were deep into the woods. So I mean, there was that. There was boy, like literally, like okay, like oh, we have to look at the rear body panel on this car because it got rear-ended, and like you open the trunk, and in the trunk is literally vibrators and clear heels and porn just like filling the trunk, and you're like, okay, I guess. You know, that's there. The occasional weapon, like weren't too many of that because that kind of would become a big thing. Like if we were looking at a car and we literally would like, oh, there's a gun sitting on the floorboard of the passenger seat, like we can't touch it. we would just
Yeah.
like call them and be like, you have to disarm your vehicle. Like it's a safety thing. Like we're not messing with that. But yeah, lots of drugs and weird just porn. Like people just leaving porno mags in their car. Just I don't know. And one other one I almost forgot. The grossest thing I found in a car that was not like a fatality, which thankfully I didn't have to look at too many of those cars.
Yeah.
But there was I don't remember what the car was. It was something, it was a Kia Niro. It was something indescript and boring. Um, the driver's the passenger floorboard was completely littered with empty prescription pill bottles. I don't know what they were. I didn't touch them. I didn't want to go digging around.
Yeah.
Not my deal. Not my problem. Didn't care. But probably over 100 prescription pill bottles. Like you couldn't see the floorboard. It was just covered. And then the driver's side floorboard completely covered in nail clippings. Like they sat there and chewing on like it was the grossest thing. Like also like you could almost not see the floorboard with nail clippings. Like an
That's
inch
disgusting,
thick.
dude.
It was revolting. And like it was like I opened it, I took a picture of the odometer because that's part of the process for we're doing what we're doing. And I'm like, I'm not going in that car again. And I told the shop, like, if you need to call this customer and tell them that their car is a biohazard and they have to come deal with it before you're going to touch this car, I will back you up on that. You do what you got to do. I'm not gonna die on that customer service hill
What was
and
the
make you go through this car. It was just I don't
what
know.
was the NVH score on that vehicle with empty pill bottles and fingernail clippings bouncing around?
I think they were so far in their own head and like I don't know, riddled out or whatever that would cause you to just
Yeah,
keep
ran
the
out of
tips of your
anxiety
fingers off.
meds.
Like
Or,
I think they were, yeah, the brain was rattling around in their head so much. I don't think that was a concern. But yeah, it was. Bleh. So yeah, let's just say if you take your car to a shop, you will be judged on what you leave in your car.
no
Shops
shame.
they don't want to steal shit normally, but if you leave weird stuff in your car, oh, they're going to talk about it. And so you can have fun with that too. If you want to purposely leave some weird stuff on there to be a conversation starter for them when they get home, go for it. Have fun with it.
I love that. That's a perfect segue into our next section, man.
Oh boy, is it? What is that
Not
next
really.
section? What are we
We'll go
what
with
are we
it.
talking about?
How about right tool for the job? So
Ooh, we had talked about this. Yeah, speaking of
yeah,
tools.
yeah. So that's how I'm going out, trunk full of porno and high heels and
Exactly.
fingernail
Marital
clippings.
aids. Yes.
So this is going to be like we'd like to do these funny scenarios to each other to really challenge ourselves and kind of
Yes,
get a
big old brain working.
try to get our psychoanalysis in to figure each other out. So so vehicle selection based on a scenario. So this one we're going to leave it more open ended. Come up with a scenario where there's multiple wrong answers, which we'll probably pick, and see how we solve these creative problems. So
Cool.
Little insight into how our brains work.
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll lead off. I got a good one for you.
Yeah, shoot.
And I kind of ran this by the whiteboarding phase, but you have to ditch a body.
Ooh, okay.
That's pretty standard fare, except you have to ditch it 1,000 miles away, and you only have a few hours to accomplish the job.
Oof.
What's your ideal vehicle, Frank?
Just so we know, it's got to be. This is like a land vehicle, right? Like I can't like choose like a Harrier jet and like
yes, no, you need a
VTOL my way to victory.
Yes, no.
Okay. So here's the thing, and this is it. I can create this from scratch, right? I can like custom build.
Nope, got to be an existing vehicle.
Ooh, okay.
Yep.
Because I would love to do like supercharged LS swap a hearse because I feel like a hearse is the proper vehicle, right? Agreed. Because like let's say you get pulled over because you are going to have to travel at speed.
Yes.
To go 1,000 miles within a few hours. I mean, like literally like land speed record. Defying the laws of physics type speeds. So you're either going to kill someone or you're going to get pulled over. I mean, maybe perhaps you've already killed someone, hence the body. I think I got to go. What's the fastest hearse?
You think hearse gets out of a speeding ticket though? Like when are you getting in a rush to get rid of get to a funeral?
Well, that's the trick. You put the little orange funeral sticker in the top of your windshield. And then you can do anything you want, I'm concerned. Like, it's the funeral procession, they blow through stop signs and red lights, and everyone's got to stop for them, and it's a whole thing. And I never understood that. I feel like stop. Like you
What's the
can,
rush?
what exactly? Like the bodies, they're still dead, right? Like just figure it out.
Still dead.
Um, but so I would go. I'm going. Whatever the fastest hearse ever made was. I mean, I'm assuming they probably. I know they do. Cadillacs are big in the hearse scene. Was there? Do you think out there somewhere is a CTSV wagon hearse somewhere?
You could probably use a CTSV wagon. Throw the back seats down, throw the body in.
Yeah, maybe you just simply like black out the back quarter windows and draw the little squiggly thing that goes on on the side of the hearse.
Yep.
Um, the Broham edition or whatever, and then yeah, so you go black on black. And hearses have chrome wheels, right? I think that's fair. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you
I'm
should.
going CTSV wagon hearse. Um, I don't know if it'll do the 280 miles an hour or whatever would be necessary to go 1,000 miles in a few hours, but that's what I would do. That's and you got to have the sticker, the little funeral sticker in the corner to
Yeah.
hopefully skirt some laws maybe.
Solid. Yeah, I'd say yeah, any fast wagon. So like maybe a Buick Roadmaster painted like a hearse would also work, or
Yeah,
a
yeah,
Magnum SRT8, or something that hauls ass and the dead.
yeah. I've always really liked the E55 wagon.
Ooh, that's
Um,
classy.
the W211. I like that better, I think, than the E63, just because like I like the supercharged. Those 5-speed autos aren't great, but they're indestructible.
Right.
Those M113K engines are indestructible. You can put a big pulley on it and just find 80 horsepower.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that would be honorable mention, but I'm keeping it Cadillac because it's more hearsey.
I like it. Perfect.
So I got one for you.
All right, let's hear it.
And I'm going to make this one topical
Ooh.
because I don't know, I want to say we're on the precipice of a nuclear holocaust.
Hmm.
But let's just say, um, the moment we get off this podcast, Putin decides to go ham, if you will,
Yeah.
and push a couple of buttons, and then the bombs start falling, or it's impending, right? And you got to get out of the local metropolitan area because that's where all the spiciness is going to be happening when it comes to
Sure.
ICBMs, right? Um, so to avoid the multiple reentry vehicles, you need a getaway vehicle. You need a bug out machine.
Mm,
And also be aware you're not the only one that is aware of the impending nuclear holocaust.
right.
Everyone around you is. What are you going to choose to get out? Let's say you're taking some family with you, right? You bring the kitties and the puppies and humans probably too. What is the superior bug out vehicle if you're fleeing the San Francisco Bay Area in a nuclear holocaust?
Yeah. No. So I don't think I've shown you my bug out bunker yet, but if I do have to leave the
Ooh.
site,
Do you
I've already got.
genuinely have a fallout shelter?
No, no, no.
Ah,
I rely on a
I got
collection of
excited.
I rely on a collection of firearms, and I've got my Land Cruiser. So honestly,
Okay.
that Land Cruiser would be ideal because it can go anywhere. So I don't
Mhm.
need to worry about the highways. I can go on the shoulder and just fly right by
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
It's plenty of space to put a lot of gear in, put a lot of
Mhm.
people in. What else? It's super reliable, so I don't have to worry about it
Yep.
breaking down, which is ideal,
Mhm. Mhm.
and parts are easy to find. So, post apocalypse, I can scavenge for parts.
Right. Yeah. Especially, yeah. You're, and the good news with the 100 series is engine and transmission parts. Like you can scour out of an ex Mujahideen abandoned Tundra or Sequoia or any of that.
Yeah, it's good
Um,
for a million miles anyway, so I don't even have to worry about the big stuff.
True. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
that's my choice. I'm already there. I'm already there, man.
yeah. I mean, really, honestly, I it's kind of the really any Land Cruiser is kind of the right answer. I don't know if we're like considering like EMP pulse implications or anything like that. Probably not. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that's a pretty good one. I think my van would fare well because it's easy to sleep in as well.
true.
Um,
Yeah,
so if you do end up in a fallout situation, like actual fallout, not video game fallout, that you can spend some time in it and be okay. I would say honorable mention. It's actually kind of terrible, but the Teslas have isn't there like the like the chemical weapons button or something that like you push that, it like seals up so the air doesn't get in or anything like that. Wasn't that a thing that they did?
Boy,
Or did I
could you
make that up?
imagine once the grid goes down how useless that vehicle is going to be?
I mean, if you're solar, right? Like if you let's say you're up like Mendocino coast, where like you've got a coastal breeze to keep the nuclear winter at bay, and you've got, um, you're far enough away from tactical targets that like no one's going to get you. If you've got like a solar grid set up, like you might be all right. But I mean, you gotta like it takes a lot of planning. You can't just like on a whim just have a Tesla and like roll up to a supercharger and expect it to work.
How about that
Um,
nuclear winter though, when all the ash blocks out the sun and you're
Ooh, yeah, that's
kind of,
true. I don't
kind
know.
of
I
screwed there?
maybe we should one day once we finally like up our game and we start getting the guests. We need to have like a survivalist expert, and we can discuss like the charging implications of a nuclear winter.
Sure.
Um, that would be that would be good. I would say also, I would think if you're especially if you're like single or if it's just you and one other person, um, off-road capable like enduro motorcycle is a
Yes.
clutch play because you don't even have to like worry about a shoulder. You could just like, I'm just gonna bob over the hills and like be
Yeah.
gone.
On road, off
Um,
road combo bike or adventure bike. That'd be heck yeah.
yeah, which always cracked me up in like The Walking Dead, where what's that guy Norman Reedus or whatever? I don't remember the character's name. I watched like the first
Daryl.
season.
Daryl,
Daryl,
man.
yeah, I think I watched like the first 2 or 3 seasons, and then it got like
Oh,
pedantic, and I was like, yeah.
horrible.
Um, and
Coral.
so yeah, but he had like a it was like a whatever it was. It was like a Yamaha V Star or some like a Road King or something. I'm like, what? It's not the proper apocalypse bike, but
Badass points though.
true, true. Well, okay, so that we got the nuclear holocaust down. You have another example you wanna coast through before we start talking about other stuff?
Yeah, let's do this. So you're a young traffic cop rising
I
through the
am.
ranks of
Yeah.
traffic cop.
Okay.
So you basically get to pick your ideal vehicle.
Ooh. Okay.
Remember, for
Hmm.
being a traffic cop, what do you choose and why?
So traffic cop, not meter maid.
Nope, traffic cop. You're looking for moving violations.
Got it. Okay. Lovely Rita meter maid is off the board. Um, boy. Um, so I almost want to go, I kind of want to go to my Mopar roots.
Ooh,
And I think it would be really cool to have one of the old school, um, it would not be practical, but I'm just going to go with cool points here. Um, Actually, I'm going to split this 2 ways. For cool points, I would go like an OG Dodge Polara from like the early 60s with like the circle lights on the roof and
yep.
the big honking spotlight, 4-door sedan, doesn't handle. Every single turn you make, wheel covers pop off it and roll
Yeah.
and they hit school children or whatever. Um, yeah, I think that would be the cool points there.
Oh,
Old
heck
school
yeah,
like
man. And you have a
siren situation.
mustache, aviators,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
smoking
Just
a cigarette.
totally abuse my power and like and hassle everyone that isn't like an adult white
Yeah.
male. Um, the other end of the spectrum is how badass would a police pursuit early NSX be?
Oh, man.
Now you couldn't take anyone anywhere. You'd have to like strap them to the roof or whatever.
Sure.
But I just imagine like a police liveried out early NSX with like
Dude,
the thin LED light bar on the top and just like have at it. I think that would be impossibly badass. Maybe there's one somewhere that existed or does exist, but that's what I would do.
that would
I
be
think.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What are you going with?
I kind of went with a different direction than you. I went with a
Ooh, okay.
99 Toyota Camry. Just something to
Because it
come
will never die.
and blend into traffic. Because you're gonna be the
Ah,
most successful ticket giver if you're just cruising in traffic. Uh,
you going Toyota 4M9 fading beige? Was that the
oh,
color you
beige
would
on
go with?
beige
Yeah.
on beige. And then you just blend in, you pull everyone over. And you know, when someone tries to race you, like you can try to pick on those kids with the hotter cars. And when a Camry starts to race them, they're always going to take part. And then you just flip on your hidden lights.
That, sir, is entrapment. Okay.
I'm just saying, I'm an up and coming traffic cop. I want to get my name out there.
That's okay. I guess that's fair. Yeah, you got to try and, you know, mark your territory. Draw,
No
like
one's,
get that next promotion in your sick
I mean,
Camry.
yeah, dude, that car is invisible, right? So you wouldn't even think
Yeah,
about it and you're just flying down the
completely
highway
invisible.
And it
Yeah.
might take it a little while to catch up, but he's going to get you.
That's okay. You don't got to get them all. You just got to get enough.
Take it easy, Rook.
That's right. Easy, bro. Okay. Well, I think I have one more for you.
Yeah.
Um, one is kind of simple. I want to do this one though. So, have you ever seen the so in the 1970s,
Mm.
there was some crackpot and his fellow crackpot. They made a something called, I think it's called the, I don't know if it's pronounced miser. I think it's Mizar,
Mm.
was what they called it. And it was a flying Ford Pinto. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen the test. It never really flew. It more hovered
Well,
uncontrollably.
it flew. So there's one that it's literally it's a Ford Pinto,
Mm-hmm.
with literally like a Cessna engine and wing, and then like a dual tail end, and it's got like a pusher prop on it.
Huh.
And it flew. It didn't land, but it flew.
Half the battle.
And said crackpots are no longer with us. They died on impact. But
Were
we
they
made a
the
couple of flights,
Were they the
and
wrong
it never
brothers?
came to be. What are they? What?
The wrong brothers?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey, that's good. No, they were the very. I don't think they were brothers. I don't think they were brothers. But this was like mid '70s. It was like, let's say, like 1975. So they are no longer with us. Their creation burst into flames, and they were like sponsored. Like, I think they were like loosely associated with like a Ford dealership in Southern California or something.
Okay.
And so they died. But if you had to make the 2020 equivalent of that and take an existing new vehicle and turn it into a flying machine, what would you go with, my friend? What would you do?
Dude, so you got to pick something, I mean, lightweight, but not really. It's all about speed, right? Because every car, if it had unlimited speed, would eventually start to lift, right? Everything gets lighter at speed.
Sure. This now the Pinto had a prop. I mean, it was a straight up. It did fly.
Yeah.
I think multiple times that
Hmm.
ultimately ended in it not flying anymore. But it was like prop driven, like talk to an air traffic control type situation. It's like it was a plane. Um, so
Is
it
it
can't,
like, I would do something like Mask. Remember that old 80s cartoon where the car's doors open and that's the wings? It was
Ooh,
like
I don't
early.
remember that one. I
Yeah.
don't remember that one. I mean, I was a big Inspector Gadget fan, but that was a different method of flight.
Yeah. Different. Yeah. He had the helicopter that came out in the little controls.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd pick something probably like a Lamborghini Huracan or something and have the doors
Pretty
open
good.
as wings and just
Ooh.
enough speed to get up. And I'd do like the opposite. Instead of creating downforce, everything would be about lift. So my arrow would all be backwards. So at like 100 and something, the car would
Interesting.
naturally start to come up. I think that's what I'd go
Okay.
for.
Interesting. Okay. So you're driving it based off just off the wheels. You're not adding wings and a prop or anything like that.
I mean, the doors become wings. They actually open up and
Interesting.
extend out.
That sounds like quite the physics problem.
I mean,
On how to make those like wings gain enough lift.
can I fail any worse than the Pinto?
I mean, you could. It actually flew around a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the car would lift like at 140, 150. That car would just take off. So
yeah, interesting.
I'm not really concerned about landing. It'll be a cooler car to die in for sure.
Well, didn't the guy do that? Wasn't that a whole thing? I don't know if it's like an old wives' tale or something, but wasn't there a dude who strapped like an like JTOL rocket like on his like Buick Century or something in the middle of the desert and just put it to the side of a cliff at like 300 miles an hour?
Yeah, there's been a few of those. Like land speed records have done like jet engines and
Yeah. Oh, I think this was like a beer fueled redneck that just like ended it all like in a blaze of glory.
there's probably more cases that weren't reported of that happening.
Probably. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Yeah, just turned into ash and it's just like an unsolved missing persons case.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's good for some like on the same vibe. I feel like Koenigsegg is just crazy enough.
True.
With their like the crate, just the absolute bonkers stuff that they develop. Where I think if you like took all like the running gear out of a Koenigsegg and just added like wings and a prop to it, that would be an appropriate vehicle to make a modern day flying machine.
True.
And so that was kind of what I was thinking on that front. But that or like an Elise, which is technically, I mean, that's out of production. But extreme lightweight because you're all about power to weight and being able to glide and stuff. And I think you know, I think something like that would work.
Aren't we? Shouldn't we pick a Saab just because the
Ooh,
slogans?
they are born from jets, so to have a jet born from Saab would be pretty
Just to go
sick.
out like that would be funny, you know?
Yeah, just a 900 turbo. That would be pretty good. Yeah,
Oh boy.
interesting. Interesting. Are we done with this game, or you want to keep playing this game?
Yeah, I kind of want to do some PCP.
Ooh, okay. I have lots of PCP to enjoy actually, but I want you to go first.
All right. So yeah, kind of a big week on PCP front.
Mhm.
BMW. So
Yes,
got the timing belt in. I've done every seal that can possibly leak fluid out of that vehicle, which is quite an endeavor when we're talking about BMWs.
sure.
We did all the coolant hoses,
Hmm.
so that was a big thing. There's a lot of hard to get ones. Gaskets, even the valve cover gasket isn't just, it has a normal gasket. That's easy enough, but there's like these rocker arm things you need to replace that don't
Okay.
get replaced because it still had the original ones in there.
And they were
So
probably hard as rocks.
absolutely hard as rocks. And
Yeah.
that's where it was seeping in the front and the back of the engine. So the
Hmm.
inline six, it has two on each end. And I could see that someone replaced the valve cover gasket, but didn't touch those. And I
Yeah.
literally had to cut into them and pry them to get them off. And they were
Nice.
like solid plastic. So
Sweet.
replacing all that is a big job. I think the E30 is like the last BMW you can work on, yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's some exceptions. Like you can kind of walk the line like E36, E46, E39, but that's kind of it. Like
Yeah.
maybe E90 for some stuff, but once you get like CAN bus era BMW, like you kind of
Yeah, you have specialty tools and stuff's not really accessible. This car is laid out like in a way that you can actually take it apart yourself.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world. It's still a great endeavor to get to the timing belt and actually do
Hmm.
it and do the right thing. But
Yes.
just getting all those seals done. So we're there, man. I'm done all on mechanical front, done with the car. So it's just
Cool.
cosmetic stuff at this point.
Bitchin'.
Yeah,
Love
dude.
it. Love it. Yeah, that thing's gonna be really cool. And it's funny. It's one of those things where it's just like, you know, nice to hustle to get it done. And it's all stuff that's gotta get done, but it's also at the same time, it's like as it sits, like the values continue, barring that nuclear holocaust I was talking earlier.
Yeah.
But like I want to say since that thing rolled into you, it's probably appreciated like 20%. Like,
Yeah. And you know what,
um,
mate? When you do maintenance on these cars, they like a lot of them have deferred maintenance because timing belt's
yeah,
not something a lot of people are gonna fork over. It's quite a bit to do it at a shop because the labor, you
yeah,
know,
you're paying minimum, at least here in Northern California, minimum of $1,100
right? And that's
to do
not
timing
counting
belt
every
water
seal.
pump.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just timing belt water pump and like associated fluids and a couple of things. That's not like valve cover gaskets. That's not, you know, maybe
Coolant
new drive
hoses.
belts. Not that that's big money, but yeah, you're leaving stuff on the table even at 11 to 1,200 bucks. So,
Dude, I will
um,
I will say the one challenging thing is every accessory on this vehicle, every accessory has its own belt, which is not
yeah,
uncommon for cars from that era. But
yeah,
every, accessories always have some kind of tensioning device and it's uniform.
hmm,
Like Japanese cars will use the same kind of like tighten a screw, slide on this thing for every
yep.
accessory. This one has different ways to tighten on each accessory, which is just like
That's
that's a
funny.
very German thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's just like we can make them all universal for this for like service engineering. However, like our we spent 500,000 just to test like what this for this one specific bearing that's in this pulley that's in this tensioner.
Right.
Like it wants to see this very specific dial in on this type of tensioner. But on the other one, it's got a different spec, so we're going to use a different tensioner because it's mildly superior. Like, yeah,
It's wild, and this is the first time I've ever worked on one of these. So I like doing everything, jumping in.
sure, yeah,
Uh, it's been cool, man. But yeah, I'm super happy. And again, I see why the value is going up because these are the ones to own. You can keep them on the road forever. Uh,
yeah,
simple,
yeah. You keep on the
simple,
road. Like if you look at like power to weight for the era, they're actually fantastic.
super good.
Um,
Good weight
yeah, this is
balance
yeah, good weight balance suspension. I mean, it was enough that they had like their own spec series, like SCCA spec series. So,
and
um,
looks. I mean, I think it's one of the best looking 3 Series.
yeah, yeah, it's yeah, it's attractive and handsome, and it's just a good car. So that'll be cool. Um,
What kind of PCP
awesome.
you doing this past week?
So there's been a development. There's been a few developments. I think I'll save the other one is unresolved. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably save that one for the next episode. As Dr. Dre like to say.
Yeah.
So 924 Turbo, as of yesterday, has finally passed California smog and emissions.
What?
Yes. So
Legally. Legally passed.
legally, well,
Oh,
yes. Um,
he knows the guy.
well, I do know a guy, but it passed. It mostly passed under its own volition. So let me drill
Wow.
down into that. So um I kept throwing parts and time and effort and energy into it. I did a whole bunch of stuff. Some of it not related to emissions, like timing belt, water pump,
Right.
valve cover gasket. Some stuff was, going through the fuel system more. I found a bad ground into the harness for, I don't know, but maybe something that's related to emissions. I did another new fuel filter. I did what did I do? All new fuel injectors.
Mm.
So um, and then still nothing. So I kind of threw in the towel. I took it. I had taken it to a shop previously, a well-regarded Porsche specialist who was familiar with 928s and 944s, which is
Okay.
mostly this car, but this car's pretty unique because it's on CIS versus those. Well, I think 928s are on CIS, a lot of them. But anyways,
Yes.
this one's kind of a different animal. It's got a turbo on it. It's got Audi parts and Volkswagen parts and Porsche parts. It's kind of it's a Frankenstein from the factory. So I had taken it to this other shop, spent $1,000 with them. They did a bunch of things, sent me to smog, and it failed smog still. And then they looked at it again, and it still failed smog. And then they moved locations, and they asked, "Hey, bring it back another time." But I wanted to get another set of eyeballs on it, and I know another other Porsche mechanic who is familiar with these cars, but desperately doesn't want to work on it, hates them. He lovingly but hatingly calls it a slant nosed Audi because it's got an Audi engine in it and it's got a Porsche badge on it.
Yeah.
He's
He's
not a
not wrong.
Porsche snob, but he's like, that's not a Porsche, which is that's kind of the rub on the 924. So I brought it to him. He owed me some money for an '87 Porsche 911 Carrera that is actually, as of yesterday afternoon, live on Bring a Trailer. Um, and he's a good mechanic, so I brought it to him. I said, "Hey, like, just I'm tired. I can send it back to the other guys, but I don't want to do that. I want to get a fresh set of eyeballs on it since
Right.
after they've touched it and after I've touched it and after I've touched it again and then again, like just see if I've crapped the bed, if they've
Sure.
screwed stuff up, if it is just beyond repair." So he spent some time with it. He did a leak down test, which it passed. He did a bunch of other stuff. I'm still gonna get I haven't picked the car up. It's at a shop. I'm gonna get it this afternoon. Um, but long story short is I know he said a lot of the stuff that this other shop did that I'm not gonna name that was not correct. Like they put plugs in it. He said the gaps were almost shut on the plugs,
Oh my
so he had to
God.
regap the plugs.
Yeah.
All the mixture adjustment in the CIS system, he said it was all over the place. It was all screwy. Stuff was, because he tested before he got into that. He tested because he knew the shop had already adjusted that stuff, so he presumptively thought, hey, they
That's
knew what they were doing. They did
yeah.
that. Let me check all the other stuff first. So he found like there is a voltage issue between the alternator and the battery. So that's a homework assignment I have is I have to rewire between the alternator and the battery on the positive side.
Okay.
There's he found a couple of other things. There's a small vacuum leak, um, which is a problem on those cars, but he temporarily fixed it with just some like Teflon tape or something, and it's something I got to deal with. But just to get it through smog. And so I have a little bit of homework, but it got through smog, and he found out all those adjustments were good. Fuel pressure coming into it was good, so he knew it was something that they had done, but it had failed before that. So it
Huh.
failed before that other shop worked on it. It failed after that other shop worked on it. He came through and he cleaned up a bunch of stuff and he redialed all that in. And it runs like a sewing machine now.
That's awesome.
We did uncover a couple of things like the wastegate is clicking really loud, which it wasn't doing before, but maybe now that it's like running properly.
What a wastegate
Um,
rattle.
yeah, it's like a loud click click on off. So like if you're neutral and you just give it throttle, you'll hear like out of the turbo click 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 click.
That's
Like
an
if you're
internally
standing next
wastegated
to the car, you can hear it like click
internal
click click
wastegate
click.
on that turbo.
Um, I
Probably.
do believe so, but it's like built onto the cold side of the turbo.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so you'd have to fish the whole turbo out to it
Fun.
probably can just be cleaned out and lubed and because it was sitting a long time, but it works. It's just noisy, so I'm not super worried about it
Huh.
yet until it forces my hand. I'll probably do that wiring issue, and address the basically there's a nipple going into the charge pipe where the threads are in the aluminum. The threads are stripped out, and that's what's causing a little bit of a leak that I'll have to tend to. I mean, I can probably JB weld it and it would be okay, um, or like Healy coil it. I don't know. I'll get into it, but
Fun.
yeah, but it passed, and
That's
so
awesome,
I
dude.
can now hopefully actually get tags for it and actually drive the damn thing.
How about that?
I know, it's good. So that is the update there.
Nice. You know what just dawned
That's
on
what
me?
you
We
should do.
skipped the
We
quiz.
did. We did.
Good
We're kind of
Lord.
out of order here. We're out of whack. The Zoom. We've got. I was thinking the same thing. The
Well,
Zoom.
the field and then the Zoom, and then we're just
I
out of
know.
touch.
I know. We're letting down our like 7.5 listeners. Why don't we do this? Should I just quiz at you before we get out of here?
Fire it at me, man.
Okay. So those that have not listened or are not up on the rules of this game, I am going to read a piece of print ad copy from the 1980s, 90s, or early 2000s for an automobile. My friend Chadwick here will have to guess the vehicle, make, and model, hopefully year, or at least close to it, um, of the vehicle that I'm talking about based purely on what is listed in this print copy for this advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
3 guesses. If he guesses wrong after the first guess and the subsequent guesses, I can give a hint to hopefully narrow us down and get us closer to the promised land. Chadwick, are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be. Let's fire
Woo,
away.
buddy.
Let me get some
Okay.
pen and paper out here.
So this ad depicts the vehicle in 2 places. One at about like the bottom 40% of the ad. Its lights are on, the wheels are motion blurred. There's blur in the background, like it's at night, and there's lights. There's like flying through an urban environment or something like that. And then in the upper left-hand corner, like 20%, it shows the sunroof open, it shows the doors open, it shows the rear open, and that's what it shows.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the print copy, are you ready?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so underneath the doors open picture, it says, "New blank opens to applause." The pros found a great deal to cheer about when they opened up the totally new blank. 1.6 liter, 16 valve twin cam performance that doesn't redline until 7,500 RPM. Ovations also went to its versatility. Quote, hot styling licks and, quote, uncommonly comfortable 5-passenger room. With the split rear seat backs down, they said it gives you, quote, near minivan carrying space at 30 cubic inch foot that they summed up. Quote, the blank gets a solid thumbs up from us. Take one out and open it up to the sound of thunderous applause. Then it has a little section off to the side with quotes from various magazines.
Oh, God.
There's critical acclaim, colon. Quote, snappy performance off the line rapidly becomes missile-like as the 16-valve engine gets its lungs. ... Cornering power makes it all the more fun to drive. That was from Motor Trend.
Oh.
Quote, the engine pulls to the red line without fuss, and it returns to a whisper steady idle, even after miles of hard driving, says Automobile Magazine. Quote, overall, the blank is a worthy achievement. If you're in the market for a moderately priced, sporty hatchback, this car deserves your serious consideration, end quote, says Car and Driver. And then the last one, quote, the suspension and tires work so well together. It's exceptionally balanced. Steering is quite precise. That was from Road and Track. And that, my friend, is the ad copy.
Okay. So we've got a little bit of a spicy hatch on our hands.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah. Yeah. Sporty hatchback is what one of the magazines dubbed it.
So no horsepower figures.
Doesn't give you a horsepower. No.
I
Doesn't
did pick
give
up.
you which wheels drive.
Did it?
Although hatchback.
Yeah.
Although it's a hatchback. If you can name a
front.
rear-wheel drive or all, well, there's all-wheel drive ones.
Yeah. Usually front-wheel drive was traditional hatch.
Traditionally, yeah.
So 1.6 twin cam.
Mm-hmm.
7,500 RPM.
She screams.
This is fun.
She's a screamer, as they say.
I have a feeling these are super hard to find now.
Presumably, potentially. I don't know. Generally, hot hatches were pretty driven hard and put away and pretty disposable for the most part.
Yeah, they're hard to find. So geez, 1.6. That was a pretty popular displacement back in the day. But that RPM is kind of
Yeah,
high.
that's the equation right there. She got a couple that the 1.6 with a 7,500 RPM red line and a hatchback.
Yeah. Um, Geez, this is tough. I know. So I know Civic SIs ran a spicy 1.6 back in the day.
They did.
I don't think it revved that high though. The only other engine I'm coming to mind is the 4AGE.
That's a 1.6 twin cam. Yes.
But what? So it's a hatchback.
Correct.
So it would be. I don't think you'd come at me with A86 stuff. Maybe you could have done that. In which case, you would say they are super expensive right now.
My would the automotive press at the time dubbed the A86 a hatchback? Because when I think a sporty hatchback, I don't. It is technically a hatch, and they had a coupe as well.
They did. They had a notchback.
I would not.
Hatch.
I don't know, and not to try and like lead you to water or anything, but like I don't know. It's funny. I don't traditionally think of the AE86 as a hatchback, just like I wouldn't think of the earlier Celicas as a quote unquote sporty hatchback. That's a coupe in my mind, even though it does have a hatch, which is kind of an interesting.
Yeah.
You know, just like I wouldn't call a 5.0 Mustang GT a hatch. I wouldn't call that a sporty hatch, even though they had a coupe and a hatch. You know.
Yeah, a notch and a fastback.
That's right.
You know what? I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going to go to Toyota Land.
Okay.
I'm going to say Corolla FX16.
You are right, my friend. you got it. We've got a winner. It is the Toyota Corolla FX16. GTS specifically, but even the ad, it's like the top of the ad doesn't say, it just says FX16. Because I know they made that, you can get that body style in the 8-valve version, but it wasn't like the sports version. It was just, I don't know if they just called it the FX, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
that's well done, sir.
Thanks, man. Those are super hard to find now.
Those are really hard to find. Those are real. I've wanted one of those for a long time. It's basically if you got an MR2 and made like the sports hatch equivalent. Exactly. Same engine, same transmission, just you spin it around, put it in the front, put a hatch on it.
4AGE engine too, right?
Yep, you got it. You nailed it. It's the 4AGE. 100 was it 115? I think when it first came out, it was 115, and then it got bumped to like 130 later. I think
130. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
yeah, those are cool.
Heck yeah, those are cool. Remember when those were like $3,000, $4,000, and no one really knew about them?
they were $3,000 and $4,000, but even at the time, like if you found one for let's say $4,000,
super rare.
You've been like, ooh, that's kind of a lot for that car, you know. Just because they were, you know, you find like a really really nice one for $4,000, and it would seem like I don't know, like I kind of didn't, you know, I'd want to spend more like $3,000. And now if you found one for $4,000, you'd be the bell of the ball at any car show with a really clean one of those.
I would take one in a heartbeat, and that's why I'm looking kind of at those Geo Prism GSIs because wheel drive. It's a Corolla, and there was a hatchback. It was a little weird.
It was a 4-door hatch.
Yeah. With a 4AGE, cool. So that's pretty close. I mean,
yeah, I always thought it was interesting that they made the Geo version you can get with that motor, but you couldn't get a 4-door Corolla with that engine in it.
Yeah, isn't that something?
It was just like, oh yeah, only the weird captive import made it the Numi plant version. Like you can get the hot motor in the 4-door.
Well, it was like the Mercury Tracer, the LTS versus the Escort GT. You had to get, if you wanted a 4-door, you got to get the Tracer.
The luxury touring sedan.
Oh, absolutely. Cruise control, sir.
Oh boy, that's what when I think luxury, I think cruise control.
I think Mercury.
Well, we kind of put the cart in front of the horse there with the quiz at the end.
Yep.
I mean, traditionally people quiz at the end, not in the middle. But you know, everyone has their own lives that they want to live. Do you have anything else you want to touch on, my friend, besides yourself?
You know, maybe some other people too. But sure. Just to
play your cards right.
Just to wind it down. I mean, guys, thanks again for joining us. We'll get back in the studio probably in the next one.
And we've been talking about doing like another field trip, but like an in-studio field trip, just recording somewhere else.
We could do that.
That soon.
Get our
Um,
get our cards
yeah,
together here.
sweet. Okay. Well, that sounds good. Yeah, thanks for listening in. Tell your friends, tell everyone, do the whole things. Uh, APA podcast on the Instagram. Chadwick, where are you on the gram? If people
Yeah,
want to check
Auto
out what you're
Obsessive Garage is where you'll find me on the tubes, on the
Yep.
gram.
Yep.
Check me out there. Also, if you have an FX16 or a line on an FX16, reach
Hit
out
us
to the
up,
channel.
bro.
Yeah, we would definitely be
Yeah.
interested in something like that.
Yeah, if you've got a line on an FX16 or you're just a line,
Yeah.
let us know. I don't do those without a mirror, but and I on the gram and the tubes, I almost said your handle. I'm not
Yeah, that would have
Auto
been cool.
Garage. I am the photographer's garage on all the things. So do that. Follow along here. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch y'all's on the next one.
Later, guys. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
Bye bye.